Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. In this episode, we're going to be taking you through season prep before you take those Cuddeback cameras out into the field. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Tim and Joel. Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
A podcast about the outdoors, hunting,
and being a steward of the land.
Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. Thanks for tuning into our show. Today's episode, we're going to be looking at season prep on critical things that you need to do in order to get your Cuddeback cameras and cell cameras operational right before hunting season.
Yeah, so Tim, it's just after the July 4th holiday. Any typical year would be like hot and dry, but thank goodness it's been cool and wet where we live anyway.
Yep.
But so what are the steps that you're going through to get there? I know you're like into it big time here, right? This is go time Skippy for you.
Yeah, so originally I was thinking I was just going to clean. Originally I was just thinking I'm going to clean these up. And but as I start digging into it, there's a whole lot more steps.
Okay.
And I think I'm up to 7 steps. So let's get into it.
Yeah, and keep in mind, well, I'll hold that. I'll hold that one step that we've already fell into, the bad batteries step. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Yep, for sure.
Let's do it.
All right. As you can see, I got a lot going on here. So I've got pretty much most of my Cuddeback Cuddelink cameras sitting here. I've got 2 sitting here. I'm doing a lot of maintenance here. And as I started going through this, one of the things I thought I would do is create a checklist on what you do to put your cameras out. And so I'll be walking you through that checklist as we go. And the first one is to register any cameras that you have. And if you tuned into a previous episode, I bought 2 L series and a cell camera, a G series cell camera. So the first thing I had to do is register those, and it's to your advantage to register those. If you register within, I believe it's 30 days of purchase, what they'll do is extend your warranty by 1 year, and then also by registering, you can actually get discount if at some point in time your camera gets old. They'll give you a discounted price on another camera. The next thing I have on my list is you've got to start cleaning up the cameras, and so I'm not going to take you through the process. I think that's pretty self-explanatory on what you got to do to clean them up. The main things I'm cleaning is right here on these battery contacts if they need them, and then the other piece is I'm cleaning them right here in this because it's just not really a great seal. It's just plastic to plastic. There's no rubber gasket, so small little critters get in there, and so just cleaning that up. And I did my first camera. And I don't know if you can see this, but I took a picture, but that's the type of dirt and grime. I've pulled off one spider nest, etc. So I think it's essential to get that because you want to make sure that stuff doesn't build up, that those spiders don't hatch in that container and get into your electronics. The next thing is check for firmware updates. So on my new cameras, they said, hey, these cameras have been updated with new firmware. And I went to check them, and they weren't the most updated firmware. And if you get out into the field and you're setting these cameras up and they're not communicating with each other, that's going to be very frustrating for you. So what I've done is I made sure that all the most updated firmware is up. And so as of this time right now, July of 2023, the L series is a 1.4.0 version. And the G, J, and K series is 8.3.0. So that's also the same firmware I uploaded last year. So I feel pretty good. So the only thing I've really had to update is the G cell camera and the L series, 2 L series that I bought with that. We've got an episode out there on how to set up your cameras from a firmware perspective. It's still pretty much the same. In fact, if you go out to Cuddeback, they've actually simplified where you can find it. They tell you what the current version is, and then what they also do is if you want to get the newest version, you basically put an SD card into your computer and you click download and it comes right onto it. So it works super slick. So it's an improvement versus last year. The L series have a slightly different menu, and I'll take you through that in a separate episode on how to update that firmware. My step 4 is going through setting up your clocks to making sure they're all the same. And also, just as an FYI, I use a lot of my batteries over. I think it's helpful to have a battery charger. There's lots of them out here. I bought this off of Amazon. It requires a battery to work, but there's a lot. I mean, it's like $15. There's cheaper ones, battery testers, but what I've found is they're pretty cheesy. So this one I've been super happy with so far. Again, this one's called a DLY Full. So if you want to look at that, it's off Amazon. Again, $15, $16. The next step is, before you put any SD cards into your camera, make sure that you basically reformat all these. Sometimes you're going to run into one that's corrupted. You just want to make sure you go through that process to make sure that you're starting with a virgin SD card and you're all set up for success. Because again, last thing you want to do is have one of these cameras not communicating with each other. You're going to be very frustrated. You see here I've got my solar panel. So I have a solar panel for every one of these cameras. I highly recommend that. These D cell batteries that I put in here are good for about 20 amp hours, which is pretty good. But I don't want to go out in the middle of the season and have to change out a camera's batteries. So I like these solar panels, and I use my D cells as backup. And I ran them for 12 months and never had to change the battery. So I highly recommend that. They're not cheap, but occasionally you can find them on deal. If you're looking for some places, feel free to email me or leave a comment, and I'll get back to you. Lastly, where I'm at right now is I like to number my cameras. So I'll number my cameras. So I put a note on my phone. So whenever any camera comes in by the number, I know by location where it's at. And then I'm looking to put this as part of their ID into each of the cameras. So when I get those pictures, it comes up to me. I'll know exactly where it's at. Now I will tell you, usually when a picture comes into me, I know roughly where that location is anyway. But it's just another added benefit. So also, for those of you who might have a Trax camera, I want to back up a little bit on the firmware. There's a Trax camera that they just came out. They're black and white cell cameras, and a little nice thing is, of right now in July, if you register your cell camera and buy an annual plan, what ends up happening is they will send you a free Trax cell camera, and that cell camera automatically updates its firmware by itself.
So Tim, nice job on the steps, developing the steps, and I really like the process. And then 2 is you got a lot of work ahead of you, or maybe you're done with it. I'm not sure, but
Well, I thought I had enough D batteries to get this all completed, but I didn't. So Payson Hermanson, we had on here, who's a land manager. He buys a pallet of batteries, so I bought some batteries. So I'll get those early next week and finish this job. But just look at this. This is the solar panel. Look how filthy that is.
yeah. Well, you've got in your notes here, clean off dirt and bird poop, and that's got both, and then something else on there we can't identify. So
yeah.
But that's key. I mean, my guess is, what percentages does that cut down on your solar panel? It's anything less than 100% is only going to come back and bite you in the butt. So.
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. And I was also talking to Payson. I mean, cameras properly set up last. I think he said he's got one right now. It's over 900 days running.
That's amazing. 3 years.
With no batteries.
That's crazy.
Other than solar panel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then, you found, even before you went through this process, but you found some old batteries that were left in the unit and had to do some cleanup on that.
Yep.
We've got that. We'll add that link in here that people can go and look at that specifically. But nice job on this.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Yep.
And again, remind me how many cameras you got to get working on here?
So I am at 13 counting the repeater. So one thing I've been sitting here thinking about is I was thinking I would keep a home camera close to the residence. And I'm now thinking that, hey, having that cell camera is much more advantageous than I had initially thought, because I no longer have to have a home camera close to the house. My home camera really is my cell camera, and it can be anywhere on the property because it's sending stuff. So by doing that, I am actually extending my reach on all my cameras. So I'm pretty excited to see, once I get this all set up and start placing the cameras, how this is all going to play out. But I've activated my cell plan, and cameras will be out in a week.
Yeah, and we'll have that episode about the cell plan activation here soon.
Sure.
So, and it'll certainly be part of the playlist. But going back to the cell phone, you're going to quickly find where you have hotspots and where you don't have hotspots on your property from a cell phone standpoint.
I sure will.
Yeah, cool. Well, nice job. I look forward to seeing some of these pictures and hearing some of the stories.
Yep, thank you.
So, till next time.
Be safe, have fun, and get outdoors.
Thanks for listening or watching our show. We have some exciting topics and guests coming up.
We ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We look forward to hearing your suggestions for topics,
Questions and comments. This is Two Dumbasses signing off. Until next time, be safe, have fun, and get outdoors.